Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're doing things a little differently. We're taking a look at current events, all pulled from Indian newspapers, specifically from January 14th, 2025. Get ready for, kind of whirlwind, right? We're going to go from devastating wildfires all the way to some pretty impressive technological achievements.
What's really fascinating to me is how you can look at a single day's headlines and get where you get this snapshot, right? A snapshot of everything that's going on in the human experience.
Yeah, it really is.
Everything.
It's the whole spectrum. Well, why don't we just jump right in? Some tough news coming out of Los Angeles. The wildfires there, they're just devastating. Were you following this at all?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. A real tragedy. As of today, 24 lives have been lost, and the financial impact is, it's just massive. We're talking about $275 billion in damages.
Wow.
And the thing is, this isn't an isolated incident. These types of extreme weather events, they're fueled by climate change, and sadly, they're impacting communities all over the world, and the frequency and intensity are just increasing.
Yeah, it makes you think, even if we're not directly affected by some of these things, they still have ripple effects, right?
Yeah,
Effects that we might not even realize.
absolutely, yeah.
Well, speaking of, harnessing technology and for good this time, let's shift gears and look at some exciting news. This is coming from India's space program. So the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, just achieved a major breakthrough, and this was with their SpaceX mission. So they were able to maneuver satellites within, get this, a mere 3 meters of each other.
Yeah. This is huge, right? This is a massive leap forward in satellite control, and it involves incredibly precise propulsion systems. Real-time data analysis. It's amazing.
So it's not just that they were able to get them close to each other, it's the level of control.
Oh, absolutely. The level of control is it's unheard of.
Yeah. This sounds like it could have some pretty significant implications.
Imagine being able to repair satellites while they're in orbit, or even like transferring them to different locations.
Wow.
This type of technology, it could revolutionize space exploration. Think about it. Missions could become way more sustainable and way more cost-effective in the long run.
Yeah.
Really a game changer.
Okay, so we've talked about natural disasters. We've got some inspiring space achievements under our belt. Where to next on this world tour?
Well, let's touch on some economic news. The Indian rupee, it hit an all-time low today against the U.S. dollar.
That raises some concerns, doesn't it?
So is this dip only because of global factors, or are there some internal economic issues at play here? It's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. Globally, you have things like the wildfires in L.A., right? Those can disrupt supply chains, and that ultimately ends up influencing economies all over the world. And then domestically, you've got various factors that contribute to the rupee's fluctuation. It goes up, it goes down. But what this situation could potentially lead to is higher import costs, right? That could impact everything from electronics to fuel, which in turn could contribute to inflation. This could mean that everyday goods become more expensive.
It really highlights, again, how interconnected everything is. But let's not dwell on the doom and gloom, right? It is a day of celebration in some parts of the world. Lohri is being celebrated across North India today.
Oh, that's right, Lohri. Yeah, this is a joyous harvest festival. It marks the end of winter and the promise of, longer days. It's nice, the bonfires. It's symbolic. They symbolize burning away the old and welcoming new beginnings. And then you've got the traditional songs, the dances, and it really adds to the richness of the celebration.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, isn't it, that even amidst these global challenges, life goes on, traditions, they endure. Okay, are you ready for another stop on our whirlwind tour? This time, the focus is going to be India's role, on the world stage.
Okay, sure. There are a couple of interesting developments here. The first one is the inauguration of the Sonamarg Tunnel. This is in Jammu and Kashmir. It's a big one. It's a major infrastructure project. It's got both domestic and strategic implications.
So it's more than just a tunnel, right? It's a statement.
Exactly. On a practical level, it'll significantly improve connectivity within India, which is going to boost tourism and trade, all that good stuff. But it also has, these strategic implications, right? So it'll strengthen India's presence in the region.
I see. And then on the diplomatic front, India's been chosen to host the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth in 2026. That's CSPOC for short, if you're taking notes at home. That's a lot of international attention on India. What does this conference actually entail?
Well, it brings together parliamentary leaders from all the Commonwealth countries, and they're there to discuss various issues impacting their nations and the world. It's a platform, for collaboration. It showcases India's leadership, and it's a commitment to global cooperation.
So it's about strengthening those ties,
Yeah.
finding common ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, for something that might hit a little closer to home, especially for our younger listeners, and let's be honest, probably a lot of us older folks too, there's this new study out there, and it's linking social media addiction to, get this, high blood pressure.
Yeah, this is concerning. This study, what it really highlights, is the addictive nature of short-form videos, the
Yeah.
TikToks of the world. And they talk about these potential health risks, particularly for young users. Their brains are still developing. It's scary to think about.
Yeah. This raises a lot of questions, doesn't it? Like how we engage with technology and how that impacts our well-being.
Absolutely.
Well, what stands out to you from this first batch of news here?
The contrast, I think, is pretty striking. We've got these devastating wildfires, but then we've got groundbreaking space achievements. Economic concerns over here, cultural celebrations over there. I mean, it really is a reflection of the complexities and sometimes the contradictions of our world.
Yeah. And this is just the first leg of our journey. Stay tuned for more news from the Indian papers in part two.
And, it really is remarkable how these seemingly, disparate events can intertwine in unexpected ways.
Oh, for sure. So give us an example. Help us connect the dots.
And we were just talking about those wildfires in LA, right?
Yeah.
And then we talked about India's, their technological prowess, right, with that SpaceX mission.
Yeah.
What if down the line, those two seemingly, I don't know, unrelated events converge, right? Imagine if ISRO were to develop, I don't know, some really advanced satellite technology that could help predict and even prevent these large-scale wildfires.
That'd be incredible. Turning tragedy into a catalyst for innovation. It highlights the potential for technology, right, to really address these global challenges. Speaking of global events, there's one that we haven't even touched on yet. Donald Trump's upcoming, his presidential oath-taking ceremony. Apparently India's external affairs minister is going to be attending.
Yeah, that's right. It's a significant diplomatic move for sure. It signals India's intention to, engage with the new U.S. administration and, maintain strong bilateral relations. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, given, I don't know, all the complexities, right? The dynamics of global politics. It's complicated.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. But shifting gears back to India for a second, there's something else happening right now that deserves attention. The Kumbh Mela.
Ah, yes, right. The Maha Kumbh. It's in Prayagraj. It just began.
Huh?
Over 6 million devotees, that's a lot of people, have already taken what's called the Amrit Snan. This is a sacred bath. This event, it holds immense cultural and spiritual significance, especially for Hindus.
I don't know, it's almost hard to grasp the scale of it all, right? The faith, the traditions, just the sheer number of people coming together. It's a testament to, I don't know, the enduring power of these cultural and religious practices. Even in, our world today, it's increasingly globalized, right?
Absolutely. And it reminds us, I think, that while we often focus on, maybe the political and economic aspects of these global events, there's also this rich tapestry, right? These cultural and spiritual experiences that are happening all at the same time.
Yeah. And speaking of, contrasting elements, right? We were just talking about the potential negative impacts of social media. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? You've got these, amazing technological advancements like India's space program, but then on the other hand, you've got these potentially harmful technologies, right? Like these super addictive social media platforms.
Yeah, it really is. It's a paradox of our time, isn't it? Technology, it's got this power to both elevate and diminish us. It all comes down to, I think, how we choose to use it and, how we can mitigate the potential risks. And this brings us back to, that study linking social media addiction to high blood pressure. It's a stark reminder, right? The potential downsides of technology and how important it is to find a healthy balance.
For sure. We've covered a lot of ground today, from natural disasters and groundbreaking space achievements, all the way to, economic concerns and cultural celebrations. What's your key takeaway, from all of this?
It's just, I don't know, it's fascinating to me how a single day's headlines, right, it can offer this diverse snapshot of what it means to be human, the human experience. And while these events may seem unrelated on the surface, right, they are all interconnected in, I think, subtle but very profound ways. It's a reminder that we're all part of this complex and ever-evolving, global tapestry.
And that's what makes it so fascinating to explore. Stay tuned for our final thoughts and well, we've got a provocative question for you to leave you pondering in part 3. Okay, so we've made it. We've gone from those devastating wildfires in LA to the, I don't know, the heights, right,
Yeah.
of India's space program, from like deep economic concerns all the way to those vibrant celebrations of Lohri and, of course, the Kumbh Mela Water ride, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. And through it all, I think we've seen, these glimpses of how all these seemingly disparate events, how they're kind of interwoven,
Mhm.
they're shaping the tapestry of our world.
Yeah. It's like we've zoomed around the globe and experienced, I don't know, a whole range of emotions, all in the span of like, what? One deep dive.
It really does underscore, I think, that even though these events are unfolding thousands of miles away, they can still have, a real impact, a ripple effect on our lives
Yeah.
in ways we might not, immediately realize.
So true. So before we wrap up here, any final thoughts for our listeners?
We've discussed a lot today, but one thing that really keeps coming back to me is that study, right? The one linking social media addiction to high blood pressure, particularly among those younger users. It's, I don't know, just a stark reminder, right, about the potential downsides of technology and how important it is to be mindful, I think, of our digital habits. So let me ask you, our listeners, how does this news impact your own relationship with social media? Will it change your, online habits? And if so, how?
It's definitely a question worth pondering. Well, we've had our whirlwind tour of current events, right? We explored those connections, the challenges, and I don't know, those little triumphs sprinkled in there. But ultimately, it's up to each of us to decide, right, how we're going to navigate this complex world. And ultimately, I think, how we're going to shape our own futures.
So stay curious out there, stay informed,
Yeah.
and keep diving deep into this world around you. I mean, that's what makes life, such an incredible adventure.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring.